Hello everyone. I would like to talk about today a very interesting concept. This concept is actually a moment of experience where you're getting involved in a sense of dissolution. However, it's kind of like a reunion dissolution. So as if one sense of being is dissolving into the other. Now before I begin, the title of this episode is called Beyond Clouds of Abstraction. And Mr. Within here is simply not trying, but in a sense beginning to explore the nature of mind. And so when you explore the nature of mind, everyone is a unique point of attention. So everyone has their own interpretation of the sounds they hear. And so if life originated from a sound, and there was a command that made the word significant, whose reality are you in? And so when these questions are deep, they are telling you, are there different ways that I can look at myself that I haven't looked at before? So beyond the clouds of abstractions means that after you've confronted exactly all the ideas and rationalities and theories and just simply you're present here and you're like, okay, I get it, this is mankind based on today's culture and society. After that, once you begin exploring who you really are, you realize you're not really what society's been calling you. You've actually been your own unique design of life, which have associated with cultural values to be shaped as a character in a story which never was a story because every character was having a different experience with the story. And so you must not get caught in webs that are not yours by recognizing that your reality is immediately your knowing. Now, after the immediate confrontation or the acknowledgement of the physical plane through observance, through a sense of graceful observance, you will see that you will begin recognizing abstractions which will suggest your multidimensionality. This is not still your multidimensional experience. This is still the mind and your body recognizing itself in new ways. So the mind has a lot of room to grow, but that's its own garden. There's other existential views which do not require this immediate body because they consider your whole plane of existence as a different reality. So bodies are bodies in the realms they are considered, so in the way there is attention to them. And so we may find that we shave our beards with the most new brands of shavers. However, we forget that there is a sense man has a wisdom which this beard can never be cut. So there's a sense of you in the way you can pay attention to life and existence that amplifies you in such a way that it goes beyond the conception of you, beyond the need of abstraction. Because right now people who seek a psychedelic experience or an experience beyond their consumer reality are seeking abstraction. And so abstraction can come through turbulence. In other words, the turbulence in your plane of existence might make you feel you're in a different reality. However, this turbulence is useless if you're not aware where you are. So if you think that if you're in two rooms and you actually think you're in one, well then there's a limitation based on your lack of exploration of who you really are and how your awareness is. So collective consciousness needs to be explored through your most individual restrictions and, in a sense, oppositions. So make your oppositions teachers which show you of the grace of the man who has moved beyond any opposition. And you will see that beyond these clouds of abstractions, it's as if existentially within you, there's no longer an urge to be something. Even though you are something, right? But there's no longer an urge to be a form. And so when you're like that, you see the energetic experience is beyond this. It's as if you move into bodies of knowing that are not formed, but they are the possibility of form. It's like they are simply, you become the light in which your eyes are, in a sense, seeing a world in. And when that happens, many people have beautifully said, and in a sense, Meister Eckhart has really beautifully termed. He says, the same eyes that I see God are the same eyes that God sees me. And he in a sense means that this relationship with life, it is not separate. So if you consider a separate reality, you're choosing to tune into one room when you're among many. And so infinity cannot be measured when the spectrum is always expanding, always being more the minute you look at it. So consciousness is important, because consciousness means how are you aware of what you are aware of. And because what you're aware of is not complete, because many people feel they're not happy, they don't have these abstractions of joy, they forget, and in the clouds they navigate. So your plane of reality gets cloudy when you, in a sense, move through different ideas and different considerations of possible realness. So what that means is that you are, in a sense, knowing what you're going to be before you're it. And so because you know it, your intuition is your natural movement from you, but a you that is more collective in understanding, more observant of the you that you are now. And it is there we find man giving himself allowances to bring forth greater energy. It is not all just words. Words is just one range. And so I speak to say that there's more than words, because I have seen myself more than an idea the minute the idea was observed. That observance could not be kept in form because it was the observer of form. And so the object of observance and the observer are present in totally not two, but in very different states of intelligence. Because one is, in a sense, breaking down by constantly constructing itself in a sense of temporalness, and another one is just an eternal vastness of possibility that is observing it. So you see the dynamic of man's existence, it's a higher co-creation of the self of selves. You will begin to see that life is so integrated that your thoughts are being bridges. So they're simply being shapes that are coming in your mind, and you're acknowledging them as shape, but suddenly you see they're the tip of a new mountain. You're introduced to new mountains of reality, but only those that are opened by the trust you have of the awareness you are beyond the character in the story. So when you know that you are the storyteller, that is when reality is, in a sense, very omnisciently present within your subtler realms of thought and consideration. So the beauty of man must be that which is always looking through its blindness. And beyond clouds of abstraction, you begin to see that life has different colors because there's many different ways you can observe color. And you will see that it is as if it's a multidimensional experience, because an aspect of you knows itself within many more greater spectrums. So it's as if, like, if you're in a cycle of change, and and all mankind and the earth is in a greater cycle of change, the awareness of the greater cycle of change is aware of the smaller cycle of change. So the smaller cycle of change, when it sees that it's expanding, that means it has an instantaneous ability to be its conceiver. So in other words, creation and creation find themselves within the same moment. And in that, the abstractions fade for you to then see how you can even be abstract, how imagery can be present. And so man's self-communication advances with, at first, his imagery, in a sense, moving very quickly, so that the cause and effect of his language is experienced instantaneously. So you would look at things that are temporal, but your experience is not temporal. So reality becomes a playful projection when you see what the projector is connected to. And so the switches become available in the sense that you can navigate. And simply there is a natural rhythm to how the human being is being maintained in this way. Because the greatness of man is never found when he is individualized, because all that individuality will think of is the greatness of the collective. And so the realms we are present in may feel like they might suddenly become ruined. You might suddenly think that you're in a prison planet, but it is only from knowing instantaneously of the possibility of that reality and you being comfortable and completely being present in that reality that you will have an ability to be aware of those greater cycles and to be present in a reality that has already confronted it. So the innocent smile of the child when he was dissolved in playfulness was perhaps one of the most highest states of being in regards to human maintenance. And so if one can become alert and aware of what changed during that, they will see it's nothing. And so you're always in that state of sense of clarity, but a hollow clarity. So that means you're not seeking for something, but life is playfully engaging you. You see that suddenly very new people are coming into your life, new ideas are coming into your life, new flows of abundance come into your life. You're no longer thinking of law of attraction, but you're simply so engaged in life, so in your experience of the moment, which is such a direct sense of being, that all that you, in a sense, conceive is even beyond the emotion you have now. So what that means is, like, right now, our conscious self, or the idea of us, or that which is acknowledging the present reality when you're walking in a park, for example, that sense of intelligence knows itself to be able to keep its bodies differently. So what that means is that in one dimension, we are so curious and wonders, oh, the unknown, but in another dimension, we are our own application of greater knowing. You will find that there is nothing that needs to hinder you when you seek to look through transparent eyes. And when you do, the association of your idea as this physical being and this physical shape shifts, not as if like suddenly you're no longer physical. It's just that it goes very in a gradient-like manner, where it's as if like you are realizing that you are more. Then it's as if your idea, or your thought, or your awareness knows that you're more than your body. That's how you're maintaining it, for example, right? So similarly, your awareness is also a body of thought which you're considering to be conscious. So consciousness, we think that the veil is made of thought. So when Alan Watts, for example, spoke a veil of thoughts, you don't even need to listen to the whole lecture, but if you do, it's awesome. The veil of thoughts is simply how your dualities and your separations are, in a sense, conceiving a sense of unknown and known for you. So that veil is giving you a sense of reality. Oh, there's more, but I don't know what there is, right? So now I'm saying that veil is thought, because that veil is not really a veil, but an instant where your attention is on the construct of a thought, where you're literally thinking of a thought too much. And so in that thinking, you are in a sense bringing form more solidified associations of your suffering, because you're also acknowledging your memory in that movement. So it's a very human, complex process if you want to linearize it, but if you non-linearly just know it, you will see that the higher dimensional senses of communication are not through words. There isn't a cause and effect thing. There's an instant of knowing. So you are, in a sense, the knowing of your action. So on some level, when I'm communicating to you, I feel a sense of separation, a sense of distance, and a sense of my voice leaving my mouth, for example. However, at the same time, simultaneously, there's a dimension of me that is aware of the whole moment, but is letting go of it, so the moment is occurring by itself. So you will see that it is then where you are allowing your body and yourself to harmonize with your environment, through simply seeing the depth in its beauty. You are maintained, you're calm, and you will see that the health of a being is not based on your body. You're not healthy if you just have a physical body. Your physical body is healthy. The health of a being is their moment of presence, your moment of being. So if I come beside you and I'm around you, and the way you're being, how I feel about that shows me, based on my own clarity, of course, what kind of a person you are. And so many people don't have healthy moments of being because simply they're not aware of the present moment. You must see that before you want to pay for medicine, you need to acknowledge yourself with the Zen Master's grace within a moment of being. So before you have a problem, who is it that is present? And so that observance does not need to be limited to the thoughts that you think are creating sickness. Because when thought externalizes, it's as if it's keeping an invisible mirror in his mind. So everything you see is actually everything you know. You recognize this. So it is simply how a certain form of relationship is present in the mind of man when he's looking at the unknown to then in a lovingly way dissolve into being a greater presence of knowing. And so in other words, you know a lot when that relationship of I don't know and I know shifts, because the I is not an individual thing that is present in the realm of duality. So what that means is that shape does not need to bother the unshaped. And so you will know who you are by seeing that you are, regardless of what you call it, you are your moment of existence. You are your moment of being. And so how beautiful is your moment of being? So you must not begin acknowledging reality as if it is you are only in one reality, because if you do, then you in a sense your emotions are being put there by many factors and you're not acknowledging some of the factors. And so man is understanding that his physicality needs to be stabilized to his trust of life. And so that is when your intuition becomes significant, because you begin seeing that your intuition is simply that knowing that is in you of what you need to do and, in a sense, how you need to apply yourself to life. And if you are thinking about yourself in regards to your maintaining yourself with thought, I would not recommend it. So in other words, you can totally think about your problems, but I would recommend you, in a sense, only thinking about the problem once and suddenly seeing what your emotion is. Because you can learn much more about how yourself through your emotions. So it's not like you just observe ideas. So I'm just talking about ideas. It's not just ideas. On a more subtler realm, emotionally, you're learning. And so am I. Because in a moment of experience, there is nothing that the observer is not aware of. So an aspect of both me and you is a greater observance of reality, which is keeping this reality here. Now this immediately comes to you as a duality, but through your own direct experiential methods. In other words, how you, in a sense, feel that your clarity is. In other words, once you go after that sense of clarity, you will see that you are not just a simple communicator, but that in your simplicity, you are the most advanced being simply present. So you do not think of your consciousness technologies as in, oh, what's after language? Should it be some other geometric symbology? I mean, that has its place and it's being introduced in its own time. However, you must consider yourself as a very present and beautiful expression of being. That's it. That's all you need for identification, in term verbal identification. You are a present experience of the present moment, and you are the beauty that you observe in form, because that is where you're looking at and that is where your life is moving towards. So evolution is very beautiful when it's surviving. It is only when it comes into textbooks that it dulls down a bit. Beyond clouds of abstraction, you will remember yourself, and in remembering yourself, certain imagery will be open to you. What that means is as if you only thought your reception of this life is only limited to your living room, suddenly you went outside and you're like, whoa, there's bigger spaces. So similarly, you're not just aware of it, but parts of you are very ready to confront life. But it requires your immediate attention to how important action is in your life. And action does not mean that it waits for thought. Action is the leader. So the energy that you are is more important. The presence that you are is more important than the personality that cannot figure itself out. Because when you look at life, it looks back. And you are required to engage with your reality. Because if you do not, you are simply just not moving, when in a sense you should, because there's a very beautiful park around the corner, and just go experience it. We don't want the ideas of our mental circuitry to make us think that the ego is an egg that cannot crack. It's very crucial to know yourself in the most clearest way. Once there is a transformation of your awareness, so you are in a sense a complete existential allowance of the moment, you are your collective consciousness, and in that knowing, you will suddenly get the responsibility of all other beings. So as your state of being shifts, it's not that you stay the same. Your existential responsibility increases because now you're looking more deeply. So looking more deeply is that, for example, when someone breaks something, you recognize that there was something done there that must be returned. Not in that it has to be returned, but just that if it does, there's a clarity. So the way I, in a sense, navigated beyond realities that imposed limitation was that I did not let them be in a reality where the definitions of right and wrong existed. So in a very collective way, in a very comfortable, natural smile, regardless of age, gender, or form, I just acknowledge my existence. And in that, it's not that you just find Mr. Within, but you begin to recognize that your ability is beyond all that you observe in just the physical dimension. So what is the greatest inspiration of man in his physical dimension is actually in other words, the bottom of another greater dimension of state of being. So in other words, your state of being is dynamic. So you see that you're no longer an individual viewpoint. You're in a sense a mass presence where you're like a cloud in which every, in a sense, aspect of that cloud is an experience of reality, weaved in many ways. So you, in a sense, you begin being a presence. So at times when I walk, I feel like a cloud actually, but not the clouds here, just simply as a presence of movement that is kept abstract a little bit, but only at the amount I need. So I don't take a lot of form in my cellular realms unless I require to. The pilot of consciousness actually is going through a very intense emptiness in his reality. So he's silent. So the pilot is actually just simply being present, and it is simply his existential allowance of all the realities that being has been in and been through and been as that give the ability of one moment of experience to be a great moment of experience. Because you see, back in the day they had rituals or shamans dance around the fire, and it was significant because their acknowledgement of time and space was different. They acknowledged reality's significance to the moment. And when the moment is significant, that's when you realize the importance of communication. That's when you realize that human communication is not just human communication. Because what is human communication inspired by? And so you are in a sense moved to greater understandings of yourself because you are looking in the mirror and seeing that you're not convinced by the reflection. So external reality is not convincing you when there's an aspect of you that has a greater ability once it is out of its own face. The moment can be advanced very in communication. So what that means is that if you acknowledge yourself as a moment of being without the segmentation of time and space that you impose, you will see reality will, in a sense, go back towards the spark. So you will tap into your collective knowing because you have remembered more than you could remember. And there, when your madness finds you, you will see that fear also stands looking at what you're going to do with the madness and insanity and, in a sense, the chaotic, non-linear intelligence and inspiration that has suddenly found you in your linear and structured life. And in that moment, as fear is looking at what you will do, it is up to you how aware you are of your direct experience to then trust life to then carry you towards where you must be. Because the grace of the nature of reality is beyond how much we as individual aspects of reality can extract from what we see. So experientially, there's a sense of you that it's not limited by senses because it's not here. But it's not there either, so don't go looking for somewhere else based on what the information you have here. It's simply a direct experience. It is a self-awareness. And so as self-awareness takes you to self-remembrance and then dissolves into just self-observance. You know, it's just, there's a profound, not awakening, but just a moment where you stand up and you're like, whoa, I've been really doing something else when I was actually, I know I want to do this, you know. So you wake up, even though it's daylight and you're normally in day and you're not in bed. You see that your awareness gives you a sense of presence beyond the personality that you kept limiting or thought was the one who was being stressed or depressed. So be aware of your moment. For in a moment, all changes can become changes. Beyond clouds of abstractions. The cosmos will meet you there. Namaste.